Good evening, one and all. We are here for the last but not the least session, and the most interesting, I think. And with me, I have a amazing panel who have a diverse experience across categories, across brands, and having managed and grown startups. There's a interesting saying which I was reading about, which said that a brand is no longer what we tell the consumer, it is what consumers tell each other. And with that, I think mastering this whole cycle of entrepreneurship and building brands is something which is now the in thing, and we have seen a lot of brands trying to do a lot of differentiated, disruptive work all around. And for that, we have a panel who will talk about all of these. Before that, I'll give some staggering numbers. I'm sure some of them you would know. The Indian food market is projected to reach 5.5 lakh crore dollars, in another 2 years. The Indian quick commerce, which is the most favorite topic for everybody here, and I heard the panel only talking about quick commerce some time ago, is valued at $3.5 billion in 2024 and will reach $10 billion in 2029, huge shift. And the reach, the user base is 60 million by 2029, which is going to be pretty large. And for emerging brands, for startups, etc., will be a large play, it looks like. And obviously, this data, most people would know, Indian packaged food market size reaching $114 billion. With all of this, let us jump into the session straight. And we will have Aditya, Aditya first going with something very specific, where, Aditya, how did you really turn a food concept into market-ready product? And how long did you take, and what's the journey been as of now?
So I think food, creating a food concept is something that what my founder, co-founder and I did was we literally visited a bunch of stores. We tried to look for a gap, and we actually launched to begin with in the US. Someone mentioned Whole Foods in the panel before us. We launched originally at Whole Foods. And we tried to find a gap, spoke to consumers for 6, 7, 8, 10 months, and then we found our little niche, and then we launched. And I think really in any business, and FMCG is no different, finding the little niche is very, very crucial. Like, it's very easy to say, I want to be everything to everyone. And that's where I think a lot of brands actually fail. I think it's really important to have a target market that you can clearly address, clearly distinguish yourself, and clearly sort of have this group of loyal customers. And that's how we went about the business. A couple of years later, we launched in India, and we sort of built out a distribution in India. I actually think, you mentioned Q-commerce. I think Q-commerce has, in many ways, disintermediated that entire process of launching a business, right? 3 or 4 years back, the way you'd launch was you'd create a small product, something that you were deeply passionate about with packaging that was fairly scrappy, and then you'd launch it in your local market in 100 stores or 200 stores. If you're lucky, you'll get a break at Reliance or one of the large retailers. But I think with Q-commerce now, you really have the ability to launch in a large geography and say, I'm just going to supply to the Swiggy DC in Mumbai and get access to 20 million people with 50, 60 dark stores in Mumbai. And I think there's a way to get to product market fit much faster than it was 3 or 4 years back, right? 3 or 4 years back, you didn't have that. It took really long to understand your customer, see if the repeat sales are taking place, see if the same store is repeating, and then try and tweak your product. And that's really what we had to experience. We went to market, pulled product, things didn't work, tweaked it around a little bit, and we kept making incremental changes. So I think the process hasn't changed. It's still the same. You need to keep iterating, listening to your customer, and be very steadfast in your vision. I think the entire timeline today has just been compressed into what took maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 months to get product market fit, maybe a year to get product market fit. Hopefully is a couple of weeks, maybe months now.
A quick one, Aditya. You said you launched in the US first. Why? Why the US?
I mean, it's just a factor of where I was living at the time. I was living and I'd studied in the US for 8 or 10 years. I was at Harvard Business School in Boston back then, and I found that, an overrepresentation of Chinese, Japanese, and Korean snacks and there was just no Indian snack that was available in the mainstream aisle. If you went to the ethnic aisle or you went to a Patel Brothers, you went to an Indian store, of course you got Indian products, but at a Whole Foods or a Walmart or Target, you just didn't see any Indian snacks, ready-to-eat snacks. You got seaweed and you got all these Korean snacks that were available very easily. And so Aarti and my wife and I, co-founded TAALI, and we said, why not an Indian snack sitting next to a 𝐊𝐳? And we did that. We were selling makhana. We still sell makhana extensively in the US. And what we found was in store, the education that's really required to get people to pick up an Indian snack requires, it's not something one brand can do. You need 20 Indian brands to say, we're going to really create a market here. And so in some ways we pivoted and refocused our business to India.
Sure. Rahul, you're in a kind of a crowded market, or rather I can say quite a crowded market. And you have somebody on your left, on your right, maybe even on your top, right? So how do you navigate this consumer preferences when, in the sweets market, really?
Decoding the customer preferences has been our forte always. और मेरी तो परवरिश ही गल्ले पे बैठ के हुई है और कारखाने के फ्लोर पर हुई है. So, like 50 years back, there used to be 8 or 9 varieties of sweets. Now it's more than 100 sweets we are selling from our own stores. So, and all are acceptable and successful products. So that innovation happened after the insights from the customer only. And way back, like in 1990s or around 1990 or 88, so when entire market was selling sweets with vegetable ghee, and I could say that 100% market, and that time also we sensed and we put our business on risk and we converted from vegetable ghee mithai to desi ghee mithai, putting our entire business at risk, but we could sense the demand of the customers and the insights. So interacting with customers continuously, sitting at Galla was the best part for us to decoding the preferences. Then we later on realized, like customers ऐसे आते थे कि मेरा बच्चा पढ़ता है दिल्ली, मेरा बच्चा पढ़ता है बैंगलोर, उसके लिए मैं ये भेज रही हूँ. So we could identify कि carrying those sweets to the other city was the tough part. So we could convert it into the packaging form with the prolonged shelf life. So because nostalgia was attached to it. So again, we decoded the nostalgia. Recently, example, we did Sargi al big. अब यंग बच्चे होते हैं, शादी हो जाती है, बच्चा कहीं और है, वाइफ कहीं और है, तो करवा चौथ बहुत बड़ा हो गया है. So for the first time, I realized now Karwa Chauth has become a big market. So we keep on understanding the requirement, we keep on listening the customers, we understand and we decoded their preferences. Another thing, like in today's scenario, now people have a lot of choices. 100 तरीके की आइसक्रीम अवेलेबल है, 100 तरीके की मिठाइयाँ अवेलेबल है, खाना सब कुछ है. So portion size has reduced. So again, there we took this opportunity and decoded it. We made bite-sized sweets like single serve rasgulla, gulab jamun, or a Kaju Katli bar. So we developed a lot of things like package, feeni, ghevar, laddu, and entire thing. But in respect to considering all the challenges related to logistics, packaging, and of course, keeping the same customer sentiments with regards to delight.
Sure, that sounds interesting. Especially the bite size, portion size, which you mentioned.
Thank you.
Great. So, Saurov, something that you guys have done really, resonates, with consumers, and how do you drive loyalty around your space, and how, has it really worked, and is it a overused word?
Thanks, Mithun. I love that you asked me the last part. See, I think loyalty is a very over-romanticized word firstly. When you're running an enterprise, I think what is important to know that, you know, a little bit about like humans or consumer psychology. Loyalty is mostly in relationships and like different other factors. But when we're talking about consumables, consumer industries, consumer sectors, I think what really matters to consumers is, and what drives repeat purchase, which is basically what we're all after, is consistent usability or consistent functionality of the product. That is what really, really matters. Why I emphasize on that is because often, you know, newer founders or, you know, marketing teams subsequently, everybody then, you know, sort of blindly starts, you know, over-indexing spends or efforts just to drive something that honestly is a sort of a cosmetic metric. So then what truly becomes important is what is it in your product which has consistent usability or consistent functionality and will continue to have for the next couple of years. This is where, so, you know, there's two aspects to usually driving repeat purchase. One is the tactical one, which I think most brands have the same bare bones skeletal structure. You know, whether it is the channel capability, being able to send the WhatsApp messages, using the same kind of partners, running your BOGO offer, running your Friday sale, whatever it may be. So I'm not going to get into that. Strategically, I think what really matters when you drive loyalty, at least at Plix, I've seen this, is what are the inputs, you know, the inputs that are going into your product strategy, essentially. There you start looking at not just, you know, large TAMs or untapped TAMs. You start looking at what is underserved in maybe a large TAM. I'll give you an example as I keep bringing up these parameters. So for example, weight management is not really a tiny TAM, or, you know, there's not really any other, there's not really a solution that's not been thought of in the 21st century. In fact, I believe, you know, we sell 𝐴𝐶V, which is sold in the metabolic weight management category, and we're one of the biggest brands there. I believe I'm competing also with fitness devices, gym memberships, and everything. The important thing that drives loyalty for Plix and its 𝐴𝐶V product is that it is the tastiest drink you can have in a day that also contributes to your weight management. So in that sense, it has this multipolarity where I'm not just saying that, hey, there is a plant-based extract, which there is. I'm not just saying this is a clinically studied extract, which now we have done a clinical study on. But I'm also saying this is the tastiest, fizziest drink you will have today. And I can then piggyback on maybe some negative PR around Coca-Cola or other carbonated drinks, and I say, why don't you buy this instead of having your Coca-Cola, right? So multipolarity of your product, how functional it is to various members in the family, and what is the underserved sort of you know, need for the product, and intent to solve that problem also is very important. I'll give you a second example of a product that we have in the personal care space. So when we were launching personal care about 18 months back, and today we're netting about 150 crores annually in personal care, we looked at, again, the largest categories, and I'm sure everybody knows the largest categories are glow and acne and, you know, all of that, anti-aging. But, you know, which was the category, and we launched in all of them. But the category that took off first, which usually you call as your beachhead market or your that one horse that starts running first, is pigmentation as a category. And in pigmentation, we realized that, you know, postnatal women or women around the age of pregnancy or getting married, they start developing pigments on their skin. Now that was an underserved market because in terms of skincare, there was nothing, you know, there was nothing sexy that was being offered to pigmentation customers, actually. So Plix launched a pineapple range of pigmentation with obviously clinically studied actives. But again, my point is that it was good packaging, it was good branding, it's, you know, there's a pineapple extract in it that excites them. So often, now that is what is driving loyalty for us. Often, not just the benefits of our product, but the fact that there is an amazing sensorial experience in our product is also driving our repeat purchases. So I encourage always people to sort of look at their bare bones product strategy, and then of course the tactical bits, you know, follow through.
Sure. So Shammi, when we spoke some time ago, you were mentioning about the challenges, e-commerce, B2B. Where are you placed around that while you're building up your brand?
Well, as you can see, from general trade down now the masses, the main business is going to quick commerce. Like people have become so impatient, I can say, I think they are making people so impatient that if you call somebody, if they don't answer a phone in a minute, so you goes impatient. So same thing is going on with like Blinkit, Zepto. So Pansari, I represent a brand called Pansari. So we are present in Zepto, Blinkit and other quick commerce as well, like Instamart and all. But now we see all the same buyers which were, the ease which they have given. It's not about just the ease, it's about the service as well. The same product quality. If you go to the market and you're getting in the quick commerce, very nominal price and at the same time very quick service. So this is disruptive the market. So as a brand, we need to see what products fits into the quick commerce, because what maximum we can do, we can have a separate product for general trade, we can have a separate product for quick commerce. So I think this has been a tremendous change which we saw recently in last 2-3 years. I think as a brand, what we personally see that yes, you should keep on evolving. Like 3 years back, I think there was Udaan, Solve, B2B platform e-commerce came in. Now it's B2C. So yes, we need to be we always need to improvise. We not always need to be current with what's going on with the market. At the same time, as you asked me as well before, the supply chain challenge as well. So I'll tell you, as a brand, I think supply chain is the major challenge. I'll tell you why. Because in food, first thing, we are perishable. It's just not about perishable. Like if you go to buy a milk or eggs, you go to see what is the date of the milk or egg. I think nobody's buy milk or egg less than 2 days. So same like we do flours, we do spices, we do different categories. Different categories have different shelf life. And all the modern trade has a variant that has to be a 90% plus above shelf life. So maintaining the supply chain is more towards maintaining the inventory level. And India being so vast, or channels being so vast, that one product sells very good in South India, one product does very good in, say, Eastern India. Suppose, like example, we have launched tea. So imagine people from South, they drink tea with more dust in it, and people from Kashmir or people from North, they want harder grains. So as a brand, supply chain is not just about logistics, it's about managing the inventory. It should not be so short that you are not available, and it should not be so more that your working capital is stuck, and at the same time the shelf life is decreasing as well. As you know, in marketing we always say, if you are available, then only you are saleable. So I think these are the few improvements, few strategies, I think, which Pansari Group also, using the help of technology, we are embedding. I think, and it's ever evolving. It's not that something we are learning with the time. We're learning with few new D2C brands. What are they coming up with? How fastly people are scaling up these days. Though we are seeing year on year as like if you have say a top line of 1,000 crores. So it's not that we go double year on year as D2C brand is doing. But at the same time, what are they doing different that we have a space in the market? So it's kind of learning all the time for a brand owner all the time.
Sure. I was actually reading up today. I think something very interesting what some large brands have started doing with quick commerce, considering we're speaking about distribution and all of that. They have started mentioning that quick commerce business is more profitable than the GT business. I'm talking about the likes of Colgate, all of these guys talking about it, and that's today's Economic Time article. They've also given some numbers. One of the things that they mentioned is that now they're going direct with all quick commerce, because obviously there's some volume. So for a lot of emerging brands, it also could be a space where you eliminate the distribution channel. While we have also started doing that with our FMCG business, once we've got a certain volume, and that sees a margin inflow to the bottom line of at least around 6 to 7%, and which is huge. So.
But I think quick commerce have their limited reach. They will be only in tier 1, maximum tier 2 cities. The rural tier 3, tier 4, I think 70% of the population is still there, which I think after 5 years they can only tap.
Correct. So this would be largely for urban market, maybe tier 2 to start with, but quite an interesting number. So great. So Prasoon, you're building up something really differentiated, something what is global that way, but so much in the Indian roots with yoga and all of that. How do you really balance out, innovation and quality, keeping that in your specific category? How do you do that?
So, Mithun, in our own journey, one of the things that we have really realized from seeing all the ups and downs in our journey, that owning manufacturing was the best decision that we took. Because when you start looking at things from bottom to top, instead of looking at only the brand side, the market opportunity side, then you start making money. I'll give you a very simple example that, let's say if a product that we were selling at 50 rupees 5 years back, and let's say we were making 5 rupees margin on that, the same product, my volume today gives me enough leverage to sell the product still at the same price and make more money. And a lot of these things that you talk about in terms of innovation, they start happening also because, the focus, when you actually start putting a lot on the supply chain, the manufacturing, there are all these partners that you create within the company and outside the company who tell you the tricks of the trade. One of the very large products that we do, in fact, that we launched long back in India was makhana, for example, right? Today, the raw material price for makhana is about 1,200 rupees a kg. That was about 400 rupees a kg when we launched in 2017. And now, most of the people have stopped making money on makhana, right? I mean, they lose on every unit because, the customers are there who don't want to pay more while you have to keep still fulfilling the demand. For us, what gave us an advantage over other people was we owned our own manufacturing. So we could do enough innovation on the back end to give the same quality, but still make money on every unit that we are selling. So for us, innovation not just happened in the product, but I think the innovation happens also on the manufacturing side. And that is something that really played very important role in our own journey over the last few years.
Sure, now that you've said this, we know you're making money.
I beg your pardon?
I said, now that you've said this, we know you're making money.
No, I think it's important because, most of the time you talk about quick commerce, right? I mean, it's easy to say quick commerce is so big. But I can tell you, we work with Zepto, we work with Instamart. There's an entire team of marketing. I mean, हम लोग funnily उनके nicknames देके रखते हैं because जितना aggressively हम chase करते हैं अपने category वाले को, उससे ज़्यादा aggressively उनकी marketing team हमें chase कर रही होती है for the next month's targets. So, if you don't make money, then why are we even sitting here? This panel
100%.
is all of no
100%.
use, right? So, I think that is where we need to really think very hard. Yeah.
No, it's also the route to how you get to making money.
Exactly.
What I mean is, you might initially build customer base, you might build the category, you might want to go faster to consumers over a period of time. Maybe that's another conversation, another topic someday. But I really liked what you mentioned on owning manufacturing because that's something which a lot of companies, successful companies have managed to do it well and grow. Thanks so much. So Vijay, I specifically wanted to talk to you about supply chain because you're an expert in that space. How do you've heard all of them, speak different things on brand, product, channels and all of that. How do you navigate the challenges? What are the challenges that you think are there right now with food brands on the supply chain front?
Thank you. If you look at it, my challenges are multi-folded, right? So one is, if I talk about my side of the logistics, one is their side of the logistics where they manage their supply chain like warehousing, production, and so my work starts once the production is ready and it is ready to be delivered either to the B2B warehouse or maybe to the dealer or distributor. So if I talk about challenges which I face with customers, right? So that is basically one of the biggest challenges, the forecast. There's a lot of trust gaps are there. We are not able to collaborate with the customers on that level where I can get the right forecast so that I can manage my first mile, right? So there are a lot of spike during the month and I need to make sure that how I can be consistent and middle mile is by and large I'm pretty confident, like we are one of the largest network managing company. We are delivering almost 31,000 pin codes. And there are then bottlenecks in the last mile. If you look at it, my services are by and large express service, right? So I'm a delivery company. I'm not the basically in terms of my major business is just booking and delivery. But in last mile, again, I need to manage a lot of exceptions and a lot of last minute requirements from the customer. And let's suppose if I'm delivering, for me, even delivering to some small village or on a street or to a dealer is easier than, delivering to some modern retail or to a mall, right? Because they have a lot of requirements which is very tough to manage in the last mile, which become a bottleneck. Like, let's suppose if I need to deliver something in let's suppose on a park street or maybe in a cart place, right, in Delhi, there are 24 hours, no entry conditions are there. In those situations, I need to deliver in the night. So I face those kind of challenges, I think, and then it's need basically a more planned, more collaborative approach when I'm serving these customers. We try to basically speak to a lot of mall manufacturers or mall builders that how they can give me some specific space, right, when I'm managing the last mile delivery, because it is not there in the mind, right? In most of the malls, to be frank, are in the area which is a no entry area. So it's become very, very tough for me to manage last mile deliveries. So these are some of the challenges we face.
Yeah, that's fair. I keep getting a lot of escalations myself when I operate on exactly these things. And then I have to request and beg and plead, saying, "Arey, ek delivery kara do, please." So great. So now I think specifics we've done. I would want you guys to really come up with those top 2 things that you think is a must-do to build a consumer brand as an entrepreneur or a marketer. What are those top two things that you think?
I think always
Just let's be very specific. Just those 2.
I think offer
top
what
things.
customer wants. What does customer want? Just offer what customer wants instead of offering what you want to give. That is very specific.
So you're saying don't do what Apple did.
Do what is required. Don't do what you have. Generally, as a company, we tend to offer what we have instead of looking at the requirement of customer. If they want a smaller pack, or if they want a different variant, different maybe taste, so no brainer. That's like whatever, do what the customer wants.
Okay, so the first one was you're saying that give what the customer wants. Anybody who wants to say the other way around?
Can I add in between? So,
I'd actually push back on that because you mentioned Apple. Steve Jobs famously told the customer, what the customer wants instead of to hear what the customer wanted, because the customer just doesn't know half the stuff that we're doing here, right? Plix didn't exist, and a natural sort of plant-based food didn't exist. Healthy snacking in India really hasn't existed in any material sense. So a lot of the work that we're doing as entrepreneurs is taking new stuff, creating new stuff, and I think that actually requires patience and the ability to be nimble. So I actually think, yes, of course, listen to the customer. I'm not really.
I also read up another interesting thing, that the entrepreneur thinks that it's new, but the customer doesn't think it's new.
Sure, no, absolutely. And so I think there's a lot of the innovation that you're working on to make it really new and convince the customer it's new. So your point is well taken. So you need to work hard in your communication and really communicate to the customer ki kuch naya hai. This is something novel. Go and try it. Otherwise, if you're just a Me Too brand or something that, there's 10,000 other products in the market, you're probably not going to get a second look because Haldiram's or Kaji or someone else has already done it, at least in my category. So I think you need to really convince the customer this is something new. And to build something new, you need patience and the ability to be
So Mithun, I think these are just 2 approaches, probably. I mean, every approach may not work for everyone. I think innovation is also important.
yes, I was about to say the same thing. I think 2 things main is one is the innovation, and second thing is the passion. That's it.
I think innovation has to be
Innovation and passion.
Innovation has to be again what the customer wants. Like example, we have just launched a green tea. That is, we claim to be a zero plastic green tea ever launched in India. So that is a requirement from customer, but we innovated it. So this is like it has to be. It's like a chicken egg story. what comes first. So you have to see customer is what is customer needs, are their demands. Then you need to come up with a solution. So it's like it goes way parallelly. It's not me too, but it's more towards offering them what they desire. It's like, as I mentioned, like pack size is something. It doesn't need any innovation. It's more ease of cooking. So you now, when Corona was there, people were more towards healthy millets. I think Modi ji was promoting millets. People became home chef. So we launched ready-to-cook categories. This is all, we innovated it, but as per customer demand.
Sure.
So I think innovation is clearly the key word, but what I also want to do is I want to open up the definition of innovation where, great insights on supply chain and manufacturing. Often I think we get stuck up in the, conversations of innovation only in product. I think innovation in distribution, in procurement, in pricing. These are things that honestly really matter. I will again emphasize on pricing, and I'll tell you why. Because I think we're all sort of in a space where we're all fighting for margins, and often I think what happens is new age founders are obsessed with pushing the boundaries of what a customer might be able to pay or is willing to pay. And what ends up happening is, often I see this, that a wrong insight is inferred because your first 6 months go off very well because you've been able to hit a very specific cohort of an audience that was willing to pay a 50% premium on that same product. But I'm a huge fan and believer of accessible mass market businesses. I do believe in premiumization. I'm not saying, we're a 75% gross margin brand, so of course I'm a believer of premiumization as well. But just to my point, I'll give an example of a food brand that launched whey protein recently, actually doing really well after they launched it. But when it was launched at 4,400 rupees. Glanbia, that owns Optimum Nutrition, is the, along with Muscle Blaze is the top two, protein brands in India. They sell at 2,600, 2,700 rupees. Today, if you go and check out that food brand that launched the whey protein, it's actually selling at 2,700 rupees. So my point is that I think premiumization is important, but that is the key. I mean, that's the difference between a successful startup and one that is going to take a little longer to get where it wants to. That know the balance of pricing really, really well. You stretch it too far, and honestly, everything else begins to fall apart.
Sure. I think innovation is the key word. Then we said.
I'll just add one. I think build full stack and relationships. I was sitting with a very successful founder today afternoon, and they said, every business, even GT, MT, is all about relationships. Even quick commerce now. I mean, we all are doing quick commerce, and we know how much relationships matter over there. So I think relationships and build full stack. I mean, just don't build the brand, build it from the bottom to top also.
No, totally. I think while most of you mentioned about innovation and areas around it, innovation for sure is across all the P's of marketing, across, supply chain, everywhere. I have a brilliant example of a brand which I worked for long ago, which was ID Foods. While everybody thought the product is the biggest disruptor, it was actually, I kept telling a lot of people that it is the depth in distribution, that you're going to stores, 75 stores every day, collecting money, merchandising. One van does that. Merchandising collects money, 90% efficiency every time, and gets back cash into the company, and gets better with that, with fuel efficiencies and all of that. That is about, innovation and optimization in supply chain, for example. Another brand I saw last year when I was traveling the UAE market was a brand in the water segment, which suddenly the water segment is, again, what's water really? You say, what interesting can you really say? Infuse with something XYZ. But there's this brand called Masafi, which is a well-known brand in the UAE, which said low sodium water. And that became a huge rage. So what is low sodium water? People have been drinking water all the while, maybe mineral water, sparkling water, all of that, but low sodium water. So innovations could be anywhere and everywhere. And I think one takeaway from this session is that across the space, we have seen entrepreneurs doing a lot of interesting things, and this is the new India for sure. Thank you so much. I think we are just in time. Yeah, so 3 minutes is for... yeah.
I'm going to just add one more thing.
We'll open up for the audience questions, considering there's just 3 minutes.
Hello. A specific part on the entrepreneurship of food, India happens to be, so diverse, right? In food, in taste, in palates, and blah, 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 full stop. What are those top 2 challenges you would like to share that, you would have come across in your journey specific to food entrepreneurship or building a food brand or a taste?
Can I take that? So, we're a nutraceutical brand, okay? And people buy us for health benefits. But if somebody were to ask us, and we're fairly reasonably, growing well. We've netted about 100 crores in the last 3 months. If somebody were to ask me that one thing, of course, you can never isolate a reason for success. But if somebody were to ask me, I've also co-founded another Nutra brand called Setu Nutrition. You guys may have heard of it. It's not as large as what Plix is today. And if somebody were to ask me, what is that literally, like, just put a spotlight on one thing that, that is different that you did at Plix, is we worked on taste. As a nutraceutical brand, we said, you know what, like, it'll be efficacious, it'll be clinically studied, it'll be all of that, but it better be tasty. It's the tastiest apple cider vinegar drink in the country. So when we launched, the actual ACV used to sell a lot more than us. Today, we're the top seller of ACV in the country, and this is a flavored tablet that you have to drop into a glass of water. So, and which means the input side is that I spend a lot of time drinking various flavors, various permutations and combinations of what flavors can be. So, taste is supreme for Indians.
I would like to also add 2 more things. One is consistency, challenge. आप किसी चीज़ को एक बार बना सकते हो, लेकिन उसको कंसिस्टेंट रखना एक फूड एंटरप्रेन्योर के लिए बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज होता है. थर्ड, बीइंग एन एंटरप्रेन्योर, आप में पैशन होता है, लेकिन आपके अकेले पैशन से सब कुछ नहीं चलता. आपको अपनी टीम को एजुकेट करते हुए उनके अंदर भी पैशन बिल्ड करना होता है, तभी आपका पैशन कामयाब हो सकता है. सो मुझे लगता है कि ये 2 चैलेंजेस हैं जो एक सभी एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हम सब मिलकर फेस करते हैं. थैंक यू.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we have 16, 15, 14, 13 minutes, seconds left. Yeah, I think we're good and perfect in time, and I think this is great efficiency. Yeah? Thank you.